Hey guys, what's going on? It's Meshi with Path to Wellness with Meshi. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. How are you doing today on this beautiful, beautiful day? Is it beautiful? Well, it's kind of overcast and it's like icy rain happening. So if you go outside, then that's going to be a health concern and a half. But anyway, for now, we are talking about just managing things around you and managing your environment in a way that actually supports you. Because, you probably heard me talk about why it's so important to really understand the energies around you, but then also part of that is really just managing the environment that you live in, that you're connected to, whether it's at your work or it's in your home or it's in your kids' room. They all kind of fall into the same thing, that you need to sort of look at all of these things, that they are there to support you fully. And if you look at it any other way, then things can sort of fall off the wagon. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about how we can manage our anxiety a little bit better by managing our environment. And if you have read the book or you've been binge watching on Netflix, Marie Kondo's The Magic of Tidying Up, then you are in for a treat, because I will be sharing with you what I have learned and how it has helped me. I will be sharing with you 3 things that has helped me manage my own anxiety and overwhelm in a healthier way by tidying up. So if you wanted to see my thoughts and my 3 tips on how we can sort of manage our environment better, then just stay tuned and let's get started with the video. So, okay, you've been binge watching on Netflix. You feel really good about it, and you're rocking and rolling and folding your socks in half and then kind of stuffing them up into little sausages. But then somehow, after you go through that full-on frenzy of just tearing your entire house apart, then within about a month, things slowly start creeping back in. And then before you know it, you have socks in your office and a random glove somewhere alongside a full clay collection of just random trinkets that you created because you felt inspired. So you get my point. Basically, you go through the whole purge because somebody inspired you, but then it just somehow doesn't stick. Why is that? Is it because you don't know how to tidy? No, it doesn't. I wanted to really share with you what I have learned through tidying, but also just understanding how we really need to manage our environment better. So I thought that I would really chat with you about all of that, because I think that it's so important for you to understand the very first thing, which most people don't actually talk about. The whole point of tidying is so that you find a place for everything. You really understand what you need and what you don't need. And the things that you don't need, you lovingly let them go because they have served their purpose. And the things that you do need, or you didn't even know you had, but now you know that you have it, so then of course you give it brand new life. Basically, you need to respect the things that you have instead of just feeling like you constantly need to accumulate more. That was sort of the whole point of tidying. The point of tidying is not so that you're constantly in a frenzy of just ripping your house apart, letting go of everything, throwing out everything. That's not really the point. The point is that you sort of understand and create the environment that fully supports you. And what I mean by that is supports your best version of you. Do you know what I mean? Like, you look at when you function at your highest energy state and how you function in your lowest energy state when you dip into negativity and you're whining and you're complaining a lot, or you're just really at like a low vibrational level. And then you're like, okay, how do I get out of this? Like, if you already have a level of self-awareness, which I know most of you do, so how do we go from that to this really high elevated state of feeling vibrant and inspired, and you're ready to create and you're ready to crush it? How do we go from here to here? Well, the environment has a lot to do with it, and not just the environment, but everything that you sort of come in contact with, how you do your makeup, what you're wearing, what you're listening to. And then how does tidying up fall into all of this? Tidying up is just sort of like that natural progression, because especially if you're anxiety driven like me, you look at your desk or you look at your bedroom or you look at, baskets of laundry, and you're going, oh my God. It just in your mind, it has like that virtual to-do list that's just never ending. It just feels like, Jesus, I'm still failing. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a perspective of what I learned through tidying, because I think that we can spend a lot of time, beating ourselves up. I think that we can spend our time beating ourselves up, or we can just acknowledge that that's what's happening, and then create the environment where it manages our anxiety a little bit better, and it keeps it at bay so that we're not constantly triggered, or we feel like, oh my God, my to-do list is not ending. This is crazy. So my first tip for you, honestly, that I've learned when it comes to managing all of this is just, if you have found a home for the whatever you're putting to a place, okay, you have to put it back, which sounds like super logical, but most of us actually don't do that, because most of us don't find a home for that particular thing. It could be a candle, it could be your trinkets, it could be a calendar, whatever it is. You need to find a home for it, and then you need to make it a conscious effort into creating that into a habit so that you put it back into where it actually belongs. Because the moment that you start putting it elsewhere, then that's sort of where, like, oh, I'll just leave it here. Yeah, you just leave it there, and then guess what happens? Then, like, your kids come by, and then they put like 10 other things right next to it, and you're like, oh my God, like, what happened? This used to be relatively tidy. Number one thing is to prioritize, and prioritizing, not tidying up per se, but prioritizing, just being committed to creating the environment where you can thrive. So, and then that goes a little bit deeper than just like putting your socks away. It goes into a level of having a level of self-love and self-respect. And you know that you actually thrive in a clean and tidy environment where everything has its home, and then you respect and you appreciate the things that you have, and you have a sense of gratitude for having that level of abundance in your life. First of all, if you take care of your clothes, I'm probably, like, what I'm about to tell you will trigger the crap out of you, and I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. But most of you will probably give me a lot of hate comments. I'm already like welcoming it, so whatever. I iron, and most of you don't. And I mean, in all fairness, Marie Kondo just talks about folding. And I see women melting down over folding. Like, dude, you know how much nicer your clothes are when you iron them? And like I said, I talked to many of you about this, and a lot of you are like, what's an iron? And why would you iron it? Legit, I will show you footage of, because I didn't need Marie Kondo to come into my life in order for me to understand that you should be putting your clothes away, or you should be ironing them and folding them a certain way. Like, I've been doing that with my kids' clothes, like folded them into like an envelope, whatever. But it brings me joy. It really does. When you see something highly organized, you look at it and you're like, oh damn, that's so good, right? So I mean, that's why I've been doing that, and I've always been that person that would make the extra effort, so that when I look at that finished project, that tidied up room, or that closet, or that dresser, or I would look in my kids' room, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm happy to be there. And the thing is that it's not just me. Take two. So let's talk about prioritization for a moment. And I briefly mentioned this. If you are prioritizing keeping your space in a way that you feel calmer and you function a lot better, and you understand that, like, it starts with mindset more than you putting your socks away. Sometimes you don't put your socks away, or you don't tidy up, or you don't keep your place in a way that it can support you, because you don't think that it's a priority. You don't think that it contributes to the overall environment where you feel calmer and happier. And sometimes when we get tired, then it's like the very things that can support us the most become the last on the priority. Like, think, when would be the time that you would prioritize exercising when you're feeling cranky and tired? How quickly would you run to an exercise room or to your green smoothie versus a tub of ice cream and, curling up on the couch and binge watching Netflix? And there's nothing wrong with those things, by the way, just so you know. So I don't want to get off topic here and go into a rant, but basically, number one is prioritizing. Number two is stress cleaning is a thing. So while some of you might be using food as a way to comfort you, I've been finding that when I'm stressed, I don't clean, like, and I don't want you to think of like, like Monica from Friends, like scrubbing with like a toothpaste and toothbrush and, like, you know what I mean? That's not me. But what I do end up doing is I end up throwing myself into projects, especially when I need space and time to think. And I feel like it's too much. Then I feel like if I'm physically doing something such as tidying or cleaning or, organizing an area or redoing a project or starting a new project like a painting project where I feel like it's a short enough project that I can get it done relatively fast. I just have to put a little bit of elbow grease in there, and then after that, that space will be transformed. To me, that's a really therapeutic way to really manage my environment and manage my anxiety because, for one, it allows me that space to really think of what I want to do next and how I want to actually solve the problem that I'm avoiding right now. And then in the meanwhile, my space becomes really beautiful. And the next day, I always look back and see the progress that I made, and that sense of progress or that sense of completion, it allows my mind to sort of calm down. So I basically, you will find that either with cleaning or you will probably find that just with exercise in general, that it will help you manage things a little bit easier because it gives you that space, it gives that break for your mind to really focus on something else. But keep in mind that when you do like a lot of repetitive things, like if you're it's or if you're doing a lot of mindless things, then that actually rests your mind without sending that loophole of messages like, oh my god, and then I have to make a decision on this and on this and on this. So there you go. Like that's my tip number 2. And tip number 3, which I kind of wish this, honestly, it should be like number 1 on everyone's list when we're talking about tidying, when we're talking about managing environment, when we're talking about even managing anxiety. We should be involving others because not everybody's going to be as easily triggered into anxiety as you or me. Not everybody's going to have that sense of overwhelm, and not everybody's triggers into overwhelm is the same. I can attest to this because honestly, I could be looking at, like, I just recently organized my husband's, I would say toolbox, but that would be a lie. It's basically he had tools and like nails and screws and screwdrivers everywhere. So I didn't really buy him like a toolbox. I bought him legit like a little organizer. I will just put a picture of it here so you can kind of see. But for him to organize that, he like his breathing changed. He started sweating. He's just sort of sitting there like, oh my God, this is so much. He started like shrinking in, like his entire body language changed. And you threw me into that same environment. And I was like, yeah, let's throw everything everywhere so I can see what we have, because I'm going to end up with almost like a masterpiece at the end. And I did. I ended up with, I threw out a bunch of the stuff that he had because he had it in little baggies. I don't know if any of you gentlemen relate to this, but he had like these little baggies of like nails or like a little kit from IKEA that I had like, oh, this is the thing that you need to, secure something to the wall, and he never uses it. So we had like millions of those, or those little kits that you can get to like hang like smaller pictures on the wall. Oh yeah, we had like 10 of those because, they're like really inexpensive at the dollar store. I legit just put everything in front of me so I can kind of see the chaos that I'm dealing with. And then I started just putting them into one, putting them into one, putting them into one. And then once I started to see like a nice system in front of me, then I started putting them back together. But unfortunately, you need to create the chaos before you can, get to the point where you can kind of put it back together and then you don't feel overwhelmed. But to me, that didn't really cause decision fatigue. If you're giving me, like a couple of other people right next to me, and then they start like asking like, where do you want with this? What do you want with that? What do you want with this one? That will cause me into overwhelm and into decision fatigue, and then I won't be able to finish what I started. So you have to really conscious of like what actually causes you into overwhelm, and pay attention to that, and then ask people around you to start supporting you. Because if you just jump into like tidying and reorganizing your home on your own, and like you don't talk to anyone, you're just like, nope, I'm just gonna go and I'm just gonna do it by myself. That's cool, but just keep in mind that like you need other people to be on board as well, including your children, because they are fully capable. Like unless we're talking about a baby, they're fully capable and they're fully on board, and in all fairness, they will probably applaud you for your efforts, because everybody wants a nice and clean, tidy environment. So that's basically what I wanted to share with you. I will be creating a series, and in all fairness, like if you wanted to see tidying in action, because I've seen so many people just like, oh, I'm reorganizing my closet. I didn't want to create a first video about like me reorganizing my closet or anything, because honestly, until we have this conversation one-on-one, until we have this nice heart-to-heart talking about why organizing or why tidying is crucial when it comes to managing your mental health, I kind of feel like you're just going to be watching. Like, you can watch Marie Kondo. She will show you how to fold. If you want to come to me, I will show you how to iron. But don't hate, okay? Don't hate. In all fairness, it's legit awesome when you iron your clothes. They look like nice, cute little squares. I'm kind of, my friends have told me that I'm kind of a freak when it comes to that. But the thing is that I'm not a freak, because that's kind of what I need for me to function the way that I do. So each to their own, right? I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments. Here's your question of the day. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see an actual like walkthrough of how I would organize like a closet or like my office closet. I'm still like about halfway done with it. So if you want, I can kind of show you how I set it up. And I don't have a picture of how it used to look like, but I can show you how I set it up and why I set it up the way that I did. And trust me, there's more organizing to be had in my home, because I'm like changing each room as I go through it. So let me know in the comments if you want to see me do that. I would be more than happy to. And how are you doing? Have you binge watched Marie Kondo? Did it actually inspire you to change your environment? I would love to know. And let me know if any of your tips of how you're managing your anxiety, and if you have started tidying up. Let's start this conversation down in the comments. And I hope you have yourself a wonderful day. Drive safe if you are out in the freezing rain, because it's not exactly fun at the moment. And just keep seeking wellness seekers and keep shining your light. And I will see you guys again in my next video. Bye.